Captain Liu is flying with Kai, a relatively new pilot, when the plane hit strong turbulence. Air traffic control had already predicted this due to weather changes. Liu contacts them and requests to fly at a higher altitude, where the turbulence might lessen. The flight attendants calmly reassure the passengers, and after some time, the turbulence subsides and everyone feels relieved. Liu and Kai begin chatting, and Liu says that he was in the army before becoming a pilot. Their conversation is interrupted by a strange noise, and they notice a small crack in the windshield. They immediately contact air traffic control. But before they receive instructions, the windshield suddenly shatters, and Kai is pulled toward the opening. Liu quickly grabs him, trying to keep him inside. To make matters worse, the plane's right engine explodes and stops working. Because the cockpit door is locked, the passengers and crew outside are unaware of the dramatic pressure change. They feel strong turbulence, but assume it's just another rough patch. The flight attendants instruct everyone to remain seated and fasten their seatbelts. Wang and Binan attempt to contact the pilots, but when they receive no response, they realize something is seriously wrong. Inside the cockpit, Kai is moments away from being pulled completely out of the plane. Liu knows he must first regain control of the aircraft before he can save his co-pilot. He quickly jumps back into his seat and attempts to contact air traffic control again. Suddenly, the plane makes a sharp right turn, causing passengers to be thrown to one side. Panic sets in, and everyone tightens their seatbelts. Flight attendants rush to help children and elderly passengers, risking their own safety to protect them. Liu fights to stabilize the aircraft, but decides to make a sudden maneuver, hoping to pull Kai back inside. The risky move works, but it also forces the cockpit door open. This causes the air pressure inside the entire plane to shift violently. One flight attendant is thrown into the ceiling while assisting a passenger. Everyone on board is jolted forward as oxygen masks drop from above. The remaining crew members quickly help passengers put them on. As the plane stabilizes slightly, Wang moves toward the cockpit to help the pilots. Inside, both Liu and Kai are barely conscious. When Wang finally enters, Liu is still struggling to control the plane while holding his breath. Wang quickly puts oxygen masks on the pilots, allowing them to breathe and regain some strength. They work together to input coordinates to lower the plane's altitude. Meanwhile, in the air traffic control office, panic spreads. The plane is descending at a dangerously high speed, and communication with the pilots is lost, clear signs that something is terribly wrong. Emergency procedures begin. Other flights across East Asia are cancelled to clear a landing path. Firefighters, paramedics, and rescue workers rush to prepare for an emergency landing. With the cockpit door now locked, the situation inside the plane stabilizes slightly. Binan announces that the cabin has lost pressure and asks everyone to stay seated with their seatbelts and oxygen masks on. Meanwhile, Wang removes his oxygen mask to shout into the microphone, trying to be heard over the strong wind coming through the broken windshield. His efforts pay off when the ground crew hears about the depressurized cockpit. The operator explains that the plane needs to descend below 3,000 meters for enough oxygen, but the mountains below are around 4,500 meters high. This means they must cross the entire plateau without crashing into any mountains, which is nearly impossible with only one working engine and no cabin pressure. Within an hour, news of the struggling airplane spreads online. Families and friends of those on board start panicking, searching for updates. Meanwhile, things get worse as a thick cloud formation blocks the plane's path. Flying above it is not an option, and flying straight into the storm would be extremely dangerous. Wang tries to keep the pilots warm as they circle the sky, trying to avoid the storm. On the ground, Liu's wife is preparing for their daughter's birthday party. She is shocked to see the news about the plane, but believes in her husband's ability to land safely. She reassures their daughter, telling her that Liu will return soon to celebrate with them. Inside the cockpit, Liu slowly starts losing consciousness, putting the entire plane in danger. Wang rushes to shake Liu awake. If things continue this way, the lack of oxygen will cause everyone on board to pass out. After circling for a while, Liu finally spots what he was waiting for, a small gap in the clouds that they can fly through. The control room praises his quick thinking as the plane heads into the dark clouds. The turbulence worsens, and overhead, luggage compartments burst open, causing bags to fall. The control room anxiously watches the flight until it suddenly disappears from radar. For a moment, Everything goes silent as they fear the worst. But then, against all odds, the plane reappears, still flying through the storm. Liu pulls a lever, forcing the aircraft forward with all his strength. After several tense minutes, the control room hears chatter again as the plane comes back on radar. While the aircraft has made it through the storm, it is still dangerously tilted and far from stable. The faces of 119 passengers flash through Liu's mind repeatedly, giving him the willpower to keep going and prevent himself from blacking out. At last, the plane emerges from the storm and the turbulence stops. After facing death so closely, passengers start recording farewell messages for their families, believing they might not survive the landing. Soon, the plane reaches an altitude where there is enough oxygen. The pilots take off their masks to get a clearer view, and the connection with the control tower is re-established. Air traffic control gives them directions on where to land, and every other flight near the airport is either grounded or redirected to clear the runway for an emergency landing. Inside the cabin, the flight attendants prepare everyone for impact, while outside, news reporters eagerly wait to capture the dramatic landing. The plane finally touches down on the runway, but it does not stop immediately and continues moving dangerously toward the end of the track. Everyone fears it will crash. At the very last moment, all three pilots pull the lever together, bringing the aircraft to a complete stop, and the long moment of suspense finally ends. In the control room, the operators cheer in celebration. Inside the plane, the passengers are so overwhelmed by emotions that many of them break down in tears. Liu picks up the intercom and apologizes for the terrifying experience they just went through. In response, the passengers, filled with gratitude, raise their thumbs to thank him for saving their lives. Once everyone has safely exited the plane, an official from the Aviation Bureau arrives to investigate the incident. It is revealed that the cockpit had not been properly pressurized because the plane was old. Seeing the state of the plane, the official calls Liu an incredible pilot and expresses deep gratitude for his efforts. Liu then makes a call to his family, reassuring them that he will be home soon. Just as he is speaking, he hears a loud noise coming from outside. When he steps out, he sees the passengers gathered together, loudly cheering and thanking him for saving their lives. Captain Liu and other crew members bow deeply, expressing their gratitude to the passengers as well. The movie ends with real-life photos of the actual Sichuan Airlines crew who experienced this incident in May 2018, along with images of Flight 8633 after the emergency landing.